All right. Thanks, Ashok. As you can see, agents are already having a big impact. But AI's intelligence is constrained by the data they can access. Traditional data challenges such as siloed databases, or poor interoperability, or inconsistent governance, these aren't just problems anymore. They are barriers to AI innovation that limit what's possible with these powerful technologies. So how do we bridge this gap between AI potential and data limitations? The answer lies in a fundamental technology that's transforming how these machines understand information. Vectors are the language of AI, capturing context and relationships within data, store memory, retrieve relevant information, and correlate insights across petabytes of data. Vectors will fundamentally change how we use data for every modern business. Agents use vectors for two critical functions. One, for building context from their past interactions. And two, discovering things like similarities across massive data sets, like detecting anomalies in a security footage, or finding patterns in medical images. Now, as companies are investing more in knowledgeable AI agents, their vector embeddings expand from millions to billions and many even more. These massive AI data sets aren't just temporary resources anymore. They are the strategic assets that must be preserved long-term to unlock continuous learning, maintain historical context, and support model retraining and fine-tuning. The challenge compounds more when these embedding models are updated. Businesses now must create new vector sets with the latest models, while versioning and storing the previous generations for compliance, auditability, and performance benchmarking. Moreover, AI agents perform best with comprehensive historical context across years of data. But current vector storage options weren't designed for this use case. They are optimized for hot data and high-frequency queries, not long-term, infrequently accessed vector sets that these agents need. This creates a fundamental mismatch. Agents need extensive memory, but today's vector systems assume you need everything fast and frequently. The challenge is compounded because vector indexes can become really large than the original data itself. So we asked ourselves, what if you don't have to choose between scale and cost? What if your storage had a vector search built in? What if you could easily index across all your AI data? These questions led us to one simple answer: Amazon S3 Vectors, which we announced yesterday. This is a huge capability and a new capability for storing, accessing, and searching and querying over vectors natively within S3. And it is the first cloud object store with built-in vector support. Now you can store and search massive vector data sets with the cost-effectiveness, elasticity, and pay-as-you-go model of S3. With S3 vectors, you can access vectors with sub-second query performance, ideal for infrequent query workloads like batch processing and non-real-time agentic apps. S3 Vectors integrates natively with Bedrock knowledge bases, reducing the cost of your RAG, and with Amazon OpenSearch service to create a tiered vector strategy. So that means now you can store your long-term vector data sets in S3 and use the OpenSearch service for workloads that require high query throughput and low latency. This optimizes costs while delivering exceptional query performance as well. S3 Vectors transforms the economics of agentic AI, enabling you to store and query vector embeddings and enabling you to scale up to 90% less cost compared to alternative solutions. No capacity planning, no infra overhead, and you only pay for what you use and benefit from all of the S3 attributes that you know and love. In fact, it is one of the many underlying innovations that is powering the new Agent Core memory service we just announced. With all these innovations, we make building and deploying agents to production easier than ever. No matter the component or where you are in the life cycle, we have you covered. With new cost-efficient storage and querying of data with S3 vectors, from the models and application components in Amazon Bedrock, to new customization options in Amazon Nova, to support for open frameworks and interoperability standards, to Agent Core, an entirely new set of 7 powerful services for building and operating agents, to your new place to go for agents and tools in AWS Marketplace. All of these come together to make AWS the best place to build and deploy agents. Now, while models and infra change how organizations build, agentic solutions transform how businesses operate. The true power of agentic AI is in its ability to reshape workflows and human productivity across entire industries. We are making this transformation accessible to more organizations through pre-built agentic solutions. I'm going to dive into a few of these areas, starting with software development. Today, software development is one of the biggest areas where agents are being put to use. This is because the tasks and data from this domain pair really well with the knowledge that is embedded into these foundational models. Oftentimes, the most revolutionary ways of applying new technology is not just to insert them into experiences we already know today, but rather we need to take a step back and rethink what new applications and experiences can look like with agents. So we went and thought, what are new ways we can reimagine the developer interface? Earlier this week, we announced the preview launch of Kiro. Kiro is a new agentic IDE that helps you from concept to production through a simplified developer experience. By combining the speed and ease of natural language prompting with the discipline of proper software engineering practices, Kiro helps you generate scalable and easy to maintain code that you can deploy to production with confidence. Let me show you how. Traditionally, writing software specs is time-consuming and challenging to keep them up to date over time. This is where Kiro allows you to quickly develop these specs with natural language, which it uses to generate plans, order the set of steps to complete, identify all the dependencies, and link those to the original requirements. Kiro then transforms these specifications from static documents into living, self-documenting sources of truth that evolve over time from initial proof of concept to production code. Next is agent hooks. Hooks are event-driven automation that trigger every time you save, delete, or create a file, or on a manual trigger. Hooks enables you to turn manual, tedious tasks into automated workflows, like automatically updating your tests as soon as you change your code, or refresh the documentation when you add a new API endpoint to your application. Now, we put Kiro in the hands of a few developers to see what it meant to them. Let's take a look.
It's like your coding buddy. I want this to be better and I feel like it's not performing the way that I want. Can you optimize it, or can you give me ideas of how to fix it?
I use it for the AWS documentation, MCP. It's really hard to have documentation when it comes to like integrating something. You know, I've got an SQS queue to a Lambda function. Do I look at the SQS docs? Do I look at the Lambda docs? I don't know. But MCP draws that together in one place for me.
Sometimes you might have it implement something, and then you want to use that as context to then reprompt it in a different direction. So you could be like, hey, I like how you did it like this, but I want you to do it this way. And having it sort of be creative. And even debugging, like that's something where I could be like, hey, I'm getting this error at the dev server, and then in this other app, I'm getting this issue. Can you help resolve all this stuff? And you can just throw it in the prompt. And it does a really great job of distilling the problem and helping you find a solution.
It lowers the barrier to entry, whether that be you don't even know how to code, you're new to coding, or you're like me and you're just learning a new tech stack. If something doesn't make sense to you, or if you feel like you're asking a silly question, ask anyway.
It's helping me learn how it's coding. As it does stuff, I'm actually getting smarter. And then it gives you, again, here's like a whole bunch of implementation, but it might not necessarily do it. It might just give you an idea, and then I'd be like, okay, let's implement it. And then it's like, okay, Kiro's working, we're gonna go do it.
Can I take this?
Yeah.
We are incredibly excited about Kiro and are looking forward to seeing what it means to transform software developers with agents. But we know that there are many developers who really love their existing developer environments. For that, we have Amazon Q Developer, our AI coding assistant that can be easily integrated into your current IDE of choice or used directly from the command line such as CLI. Q handles everything from authoring features, code completion, security scanning, and many more. We are constantly evolving Q Developer, making it increasingly agentic, bringing it to more places by collaborating directly with partners like GitLab, and very soon, IDEs like JetBrains. And we have been listening closely to customer feedback, bringing new features like expanded MCP support, real-time code suggestion across 25+ languages, automated multi-file feature, intelligent code reviews, and many more. We have seen amazing growth in Q Developer, especially Amazon Q CLI, and customers have been using it to build amazing things. In fact, Q CLI processes millions of user interactions and tool calls on a daily basis. Another area we knew we could uniquely help customers is migration and modernization. Modernizing decades-old application and untangling their legacy infrastructure can be a slow, costly process. That's why we built AWS Transform, a migration and modernization agent with 19 years of breakthroughs, challenges, and transformation. We have seen just about everything and took what we have learned and built it into Transform to make modernization as easy as possible across migrations from .NET frameworks, VMware, and mainframe. Let's unpack how Transform can help for each one of these. First is modernizing Windows.NET applications to Linux. Here, Transform can automatically discover incompatibilities, generate a transformation plan, and can refactor the source code on your behalf. Using Transform has helped developers modernize their .NET apps up to 4 times faster and cut the cost of Windows licensing by up to 40% by moving off of Windows. Next is VMware. Transform agents simplify and automate on-prem app discovery, wave planning, and orchestration of the end-to-end migration process. And Transform tackles one of the hardest parts of VMware migration by automatically converting VMware network configurations and firewall rules into AWS network constructs. With this Transform, this is up to 80 times faster. One customer, CSL Behring, has seen a 10 times improvement in application discovery and wave planning, removing thousands of hours of migration time. Our own AWS professional services is using AWS Transform in their customer engagements, reducing weeks of work down to 1 hour, and by integrating tools like Cloud Migration Factory, migrating VMs 80% faster. Transform can even assist with modernizing complex mainframe apps, starting with IBM ZOS. Mainframe projects that used to take years can now be completed in months. Since its GA launch in mid-May, AWS Transform has helped customers and partners analyze more than 128 million lines of code since its launch.